That felt absolutely incredible. The audience was unbelievable, one of a kind. It's just, my adrenaline is just pumping through my ears right now. I had such a great time.
The place, Austin City Limits, has its own feel, doesn't it, man?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
People know how important it is.
Yeah, the history. You can
It
feel
is
it.
like an institution, right?
Yeah.
You know it's important. You don't want to mess up so bad. You're just like,
And they know it's important to you. The audience knows it's important to you, and they sing loud, and they're just so supportive.
There is a magic in the air, you know. A lot of it has to do with what you're doing on the stage and the people that come to the shows, but also the whole history behind it all. You know, anyway, it's pretty special. So before we get into the new album, which came first, singing or songwriting?
On the new album, I think songwriting came first this time. Dave Cobb helped me throw down on the singing pretty hard in the studio. But we set out to create a batch of songs that were undeniably emotional and just cut straight to the point of the things about life that are hard to talk about and sing about. So getting in the studio and being able to express those things emotionally was like kind of the cathartic moment for me. And then now getting to do it live is like, forget about it. I think it's going to take 10 years off my life.
So the three of you collaborate on essentially everything, right? Let's talk about the themes, and you know, we'll kind of get more specific about the songs, but there is obviously a thread of forgiveness that runs through a lot of the songs on this record. So does that represent a perspective at this point in your lives, or the world that we live in today, or where does that come from?
It represents a lot of the things, you know, that we're talking about. The world that we live in today, the really polarizing political climate, coming of age things that require forgiveness and acceptance in life, like becoming a parent and losing your autonomy and your freedom in some ways, but also experiencing love in a way that's just completely taking you over. Witnessing the, you know, fallibility of your parents and their impermanence here with us. That requires forgiveness and acceptance. Recognizing the damage that addiction does in this world and in this country. And then reconciling all that with God, whoever that is, to any of us at any given time. So just little subjects like that.
Little pretty weighty matter. Tim and Phil, are you parents?
yeah, we both have a couple kids.
We got 6 kids between us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we all live on
Lots
the
of
same
kids.
thing. And
So you know a thing or two about not only motherhood, but fatherhood.
Yeah.
Parenthood, basically, is what it comes down to. So, well, how did the three of you collaborate on that particular song, The Mother?
Can I tell the story?
yeah.
Well, I was sitting there in my car and a little text message came through from Brandi and it was like, I just got a little song I'm working on. And it was just done and it sounded awesome. That's how we collaborated on that one.
Some of them are like that. Some are like that. That's how we collaborated on most of all, too.
Yeah.
When you sent me that one, I was like, I feel like Most of All and Sugartooth are your quintessential best songs that you've ever written, and they're on this album. And I feel the same way about every time I hear that song, and I feel the same way about Fulton County Jane. I feel like the best things that we've ever written as writers are in this project, 7 albums down the road. And I'm not really sure, you know, where to go from here, but I'm just really proud of the 2 of them, and I'm proud of the 3 of us, and being together for 17 years is a long time, and I just feel like we're finally telling it like it is. It feels good to be in this place.
Why now? Was it just a matter of time and evolution and maturity?
I wish I could tell you why now. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe it is. Maybe it's, you know, becoming a parent, getting married, settling into who we are. There's definitely, I'm giving a whole lot less of a shit about things that I used to give a shit about before.
It's true, man. And I think, like, in many ways, we like share a mind almost, because we share everything else, families and stage and you know, work and problems and stuff. And it's it just all happened to us at the same time, you know?
It did happen to us at the exact same time. I think I've left a lot of my vanity behind and a lot of my resentment.
And I think also being parents, you know, like you're saying, you give less of a shit about things. It's like, as a parent, you don't have time to like nitpick over small things or like pick little things apart. You just, I feel like we kind of just let things happen more. You know, we just let things happen, and instead of trying to control every little thing. And that was a pretty big shift in personality, becoming a parent, and then taking that like personality or new thing into the studio or into writing, you know?
Also, we're happy.
Yeah.
And you said to me, and this is one of the smartest things that Tim has ever said to me. When my wife got pregnant with Evangeline, I was talking to Tim because Tim's the prolific writer in the band. Phil writes really rarely. I don't know when I'm going to write. It might be 2 years before I write another song. But Tim kind of writes every day. And so we tend to go to him a lot for songwriting advice. And I was asking him, I was like, this baby and my marriage, this is making me really happy right now. What's going to happen? Am I going to be able to write songs anymore? Because he was already, on that path. And so he says, you can do everything better when you're happy, even write sad songs. And it's totally true.
Yeah, man, your whole life's better. Every aspect of it, even the sad shit.
Even the sad shit's better when you're happy.
Well, you may all be happy right now, but life is still a roller coaster, and you can't stay at the top forever, right?
Thanks for the warning.
Damn it!
I think you knew that ahead of time. Anyway.
Rush.
So let's talk about working with Dave Cobb and Shooter Jennings in the studio.
Yeah. So I met Shooter Jennings in Austin. We were doing the Johnny Cash's 80th birthday celebration together, and he noticed that I had the Orin tattooed on my shoulders from The Neverending Story, which is my favorite 80s movie. And we bonded on geeking out over 80s movies, and we started talking about Americana music and, sort of throwback lyrics and concepts like Dust Bowl, Depression concepts, train hopping, and those kinds of things, and how being able to define a lyrical script for our own generation is really important. And I thought to myself, he's really smart. I want to work with him in some capacity in the future at some point. A couple years go by, I forget about it. And I talked to Dolly Parton into doing the story to help me benefit children affected by conflict on a reissue of the story album that I did. So she's going to sing the story, and I'm passing through Nashville on a day off. And I'd never met Dave Cobb before, and I thought, I heard he's really spontaneous and so talented. I'm going to see if he'll pull an all-nighter with me and do this Dolly track. So I called him, and he goes, yeah, girl, be here at 9:30. We're going to throw it down. He goes, listen to Wichita Lineman in the Ghetto, and that's going to be our template. And I was like, wow, what vision, So I spent the night with Dave Cobb. We did the story with Dolly. And about a week later, I thought, Dave Cobb and Shooter Jennings. That would be a crazy combination. And only then did I find out that they're basically brothers. So that's how we ended at the studio with them. Watching those guys work is like watching two kids build a spaceship in the basement. So creative and out of the box.
Both great producers in their own right. And great musicians, too.
So there was a natural chemistry going in.
Totally natural chemistry, yeah.
And then there was Paul Buckmaster.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, the greatest, most legendary strings arranger in all of rock music. And one of the last things he did was to work with you on this record.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Terry. I mean, I think that without George Martin and Paul Buckmaster, the marriage of symphony music, classical music, and rock and roll wouldn't exist. They actually created that for us. He did everything. Elton John, 1969 to 77, David Bowie, Miles Davis, Rolling Stones. I was a fan of his since I was about 12 years old when I discovered Elton John. And we've got, I think, 13 Paul Buckmaster arrangements in our catalog. And the last record that Paul did was our record, and he live conducted the symphony in Nashville, The Party of One, and whatever you do. It was, he was full life. Nobody knew that anything, was going to end. And looking back on it, I think it'll always be one of the top experiences of my life and my career. I love them.
I was going to say, no matter what else happens, how many more records you make beyond this seventh, it's going to be hard for anything to compare to that experience, right?
Absolutely. I did film it. So I've got him doing it in his NASA T-shirt with his little belly and his suit jacket. He was just a totally mystical force of life.
So Brandi, is singing a liberating experience for you? It sure comes across that way.
Singing is the liberating experience for me. It's how I express myself. It's the only way I know who I am. It's the only way I can define myself is by my singing.
You guys have been working together, you said, for 15, 16 years?
17 years, yeah.
years. Considering what you've done, the people you've worked with, and how you have grown, how your shows have grown, and audiences have grown, do you sometimes look in the mirror and wonder, how did this happen? Is this for real?
I always look in the mirror and wonder that every single day. I can't believe it. And there's certain things that are even more pinch me about it, you know. Especially when I'd say the thing that brings me face to face with how cathartic and how what a triumph this job is for me is when I get to experience my heroes, whether I'm gonna get to meet them or like the Roy Orbison thing I did, you know, where I got to hang out with Roy's boys and sing a Roy song in front of Chris Isaak, or whether you know, I'm getting to witness Paul Buckmaster conduct his last symphony orchestra. Those are the times when I think my life is gonna flash before my eyes, and it's gonna take, you know, 4 hours for me to see all the pivotal moments.